Record now. Okay. Uh, Hello. Thank you for watching the first episode, if you did. This is Good Kid, Bad Parents, hosted by yours truly, Jacob Chalk. Uh, Hopefully we won't be clipping this episode. Although last episode that was intentional. I was purposely trying to make the audio bad. That way anybody who listened really is a true fan at heart. So, you know, yeah. Normally I have a guest, but today my guest unfortunately had to reschedule. So we're going to try a solo episode. Let's see how that goes. Don't know how this will go, but we'll see, I believe in it. I do stand up. I've done an extended amount of time on stage before, so this technically should be easier. But with me, I have my questions for myself with me today. Um, hopefully the car traffic isn't going too crazy in your ears. Shouldn't be, but who knows? We're learning. This is a learning phase. I also have my water with me. This episode is sponsored by Nalgene. Nalgene. When you want to drink some water, why not put it in a big fucking bottle? Anyway, so this podcast was started on the premise that I have bad parents, and that's true. I have absent father and a mom who was kind of intense, but this is not focusing on the past and like how bad it was, but rather actually trying to move past and let go. I feel like for a long, long time, I've held on to this for stupid amount of time. I mean, I'm 29 years old, and only in the past year, maybe, do I feel like I kind of let go, at least a little bit, I didn't talk to my mom for 10 years. And I'm sure anybody listening here, hopefully this gets to somebody that this actually resonates with, that it's very painful when you're a kid to have the thought, I think my parents might be bad. Like I was 11, maybe 12 when I first had that thought. I remember I was putting the dishes away, and I don't know what had happened. I don't remember exactly what it was, but something had happened. And as I'm putting them away, the thought hits me and I stop physically doing everything. And I literally just stared forward, and I just thought to myself, is my mom a bad mom? And I like was stunned by that own thought of mine, and it shocked me, and I was very uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. Um, and so it was then kind of this thing of like, well, that can't be true. And then I started to try to look for evidence as to how that claim was wrong, but I kept finding more evidence of how that claim was right. It was kind of like like some people have their moment where they leave religion, and they're like, oh, I was looking for more evidence of how this has to be true, but I kept finding more evidence that it's not. And that was me, but with my own, you know, lineage, I guess, So yeah, it's a lot to think about when you're like 11 or 12. I hadn't even finished uh, elementary school yet. And I mean, at the time, probably the biggest song on the radio was Poker Face. So, you know, up until that point, I'm really just jamming to Poker Face and Black Eyed Peas. And then also dealing with a real existential quandary of Uh, am I being raised by a mean-spirited person? And that's a lot to take in. Unfortunately, that was a real boom, boom, pow to the mind. I also have questions here for myself in case I run out of things to talk about. I do have one thing I want to mention just because I am passionate about it right now. I posted a video this week of this guy selling watermelons on the street, just like on the side of the street, like sidewalk. You could just walk up and purchase one. And a lot of people were upset with me for posting this, being like, why are you angry? First of all, not angry. I was confused. I've never seen somebody selling just a whole bunch of watermelon on the street before. But also a lot of people were being like, have you never seen this before? No, I've never seen that before. And they're like, why are you? Basically, they were like acting like I'm the weird person when in this situation, it's insane to be selling a watermelon on the street. They're acting like I'm the weird one because this guy's selling watermelon on the side of the street. That's confusing. And at one point I said, like, I would understand if it was an apple, I get that. But this is a watermelon. You like if you walk up to buy a watermelon is a grocery. Watermelon is not a buyable like hand food. It takes 2 hands to hold one. It's a full watermelon. An apple or a banana or an orange, this is a food you can buy on the street, eat while you're walking. A watermelon is a grocery item now. You have to take it home and then prepare it. You can't just, ancient spear hand technique, go into the rind and then start scooping it from within. You have to find a rock or something like a monkey and bash it to get into the meat of the fruit. This is a nonsense fruit to sell on the street. And so I was amazed that this guy was selling like 30 of them all at once on the street. I saw one guy walking away carrying one. So, I mean, obviously it's a good business model, I guess, but he's carrying one. He's like struggling to hold it, walking from the stand to his apartment. This was a confusing thing to me. And I posted it online. A lot of people were mad at me for being confused. I think that it is strange to also, he was selling them from a U-Haul. So you had to fill a U-Haul full of watermelon to then transport them and then sell them on the street. This is not a street food. If you went to New Orleans and you were like, let me get some New Orleans street food, nobody's going to hand you a watermelon, a full uncut watermelon. This is a nonsense purchase. If you're buying this, it means you're headed home. Even if you were buying it in your car, like you're in your car, you buy a watermelon, they have to place it within. They can't hand it to you. They have to place it within, and then you could drive off with it in your car before paying them. Or you could hand them money and then they just, you know what I mean? This is a nonsense purchase. An apple, you could be in your car next to a stoplight, there at the thing. You go, hey, hey, hey. They come over, you hand them money and they hand the apple at the same time. A watermelon is a two-handed purchase. You are liable to be stolen from at that point. You've set yourself up as defenseless now. Ridiculous purchase. Ridiculous item to sell on the side of the road. Do you still feel like you hold on to it and that it holds you back? That's the thing. I don't think, for a long time I didn't feel like I did. And there's sometimes where I still don't think I do. But then my reactions to things are how I am, very defensive. Always looking for threats, always looking for threats. Somebody is a little bit different, like heightened to it, And so I read a book a few, maybe a year or so ago, that talked about people who are hypersensitive, get the information that somebody is different rapidly, right? But then we jump to conclusions and we're like, it's because I did something wrong. It's because I'm a problem. I'm bothering them, etc. Right? Always personal. Like, this is my fault. How do I take blame for them? How do I fix it? But if you just take a moment to pause when you get that information of they are different, and then pause and just take a second to really think and step back and not personally attach yourself to it, it then becomes a like superpower in a way. You know, I hate when people say that phrase of like, oh, it's a superpower. Especially with autism. Oh, you have a superpower. Yeah, I have a superpower that I think everyone hates me. Well, I hate that garbage. I hate that garbage so much, man. But I've heard it my whole life. Um, I've, I have a superpower that I can't forget my ex's birthday. You know, like I wish I could, honestly. But it is a skill that you are able to identify that someone is feeling off, and you can then, kind of try to analyze and be able to infer before anybody else that something's going on. But you have to take that step back first. You have to give it a few moments and let it sit, and then apply logic to it instead of jumping to the conclusion that you are the problem, which again, you've kind of been trained to do, Yeah, you have to not jump to conclusions, but you're so used to that, that your parent comes home and they're in a bad mood, and then they even vocalize that it's you. And now you have to be like, okay, well, what was I doing wrong? Did they tell me like, oh, it was because you did this or whatever? And so you have to analyze, and then you just get so trained to constantly stare at your own reflection and nitpick every single thing, you know? Um, just stare at who you are and then break it down and then cut out parts that are bothersome, you know? Um, and so hopefully this podcast will be an exploration of finding those cut out pieces and reapplying them. And that kind of, in a way, applies to stand up as well. Obviously, I'm a comic. I'm going to talk about stand up. Sorry for anybody listening who hates hearing comedians talk about stand up, but it's kind of like, if a neuroscientist comes onto a podcast, they're going to talk about neuroscience. You know what I mean? Like they're just going to talk about what is their job. And they're going to talk about what they're passionate about. That's why they're there, But for me, stand up is the biggest passion, you know? And a big part of it is that I jump to conclusions. A joke will not be working, and then I'll be like, oh, this audience doesn't like this. And I mean, like, I'm decent at reading that, but then I'm not comfortable with waiting. I'm not comfortable with the silence. And it's very scary. Like, that's why I see my peers and people I admire who will wait so long for a laugh. Like, I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but like 3 to 5 seconds even, they'll like just sit in that silence. And that's terrifying to me, truly. Because in those 3 to 5 seconds, I interpret rejection. And then I am not excited, Um, and that's kind of why I want to do this podcast, is because in a way, this is for me to talk with other people, see how their mind is affected too by what has gone on. And then also maybe have people on who had good parents and still feel the same way, and understand where that's coming from, understand how they feel like that. And if they know why they feel that way, it's very interesting to me, the nature versus nurture side of it, If you're born to great parents, but then still turn out kind of insane, that's so interesting. Or if you're like me, where you're born to insane parents, and then you turn out the most generic white bread guy imaginable. I was, raised in a crazy situation, you know? Uh, my mom would walk into my room and then just be like, pack your bags, I'm being stalked. And then we would just go to a motel for 2-3 hours that night, and then she would walk back in from having gotten dinner and be like, we're good, we can go home now. And so then I was just and that happened quite a bit, and so that was my experience growing up. But I just like board games and Imagine Dragons, man. I'm just a real simple guy. I don't want to go to a club and do hard drugs too loud, and my sinuses are sensitive. No, thank you. But I would love an invite. I just like to be thought of, you know? Do you think you turned out okay? I actually do. It took me a while to realize that. It did take me probably 27, 28 years to realize I turned out okay. Made a lot of mistakes. Made a lot of mistakes with a lot of people, but I did turn out okay. Wish I could take those mistakes back. Wish I could apologize, but can't. That's okay. And that's part of being okay, is accepting that you're the villain in someone else's story. For so long, myself and other people were raised in this idea of you're the villain. Being raised the whole time I was told, Jacob, you are what's wrong. You are the villain. And I'm not saying that's how I felt. I'm literally saying that's what I was told, And so being raised of you are the villain, you're ruining everything, you are bad, and then wanting to fix it and be like, I'm so sorry, and trying to apologize, trying to correct my own behavior and stuff, right? Eventually just accepting some people are going to view you as the villain of their life, and that's okay. Extending an apology where there's one needed and just disregarding it when there is one that's not, There are a lot of people who I'm the villain in their story. If some of them ever see this, I am sorry. And if you're thinking he's not thinking of me, I am thinking of you, and I am sorry. Truly, I am. What is the most lasting effect you think your parents had on you? I don't know if it's them, but I think the most debilitating thing is self-doubt. 100% self-doubt. Insecurity. I can't put all of that on my parents, no matter how much I try. Because first of all, my dad wasn't there, so technically couldn't do anything about it, But insecurity, 100%. And the thing is that I may have gotten the insecurity from them, maybe, I don't know. But I'm the one who continues to reinforce it, right? I'm the one who continues to have those thoughts and say, yes, those are correct, right? So they may have given those thoughts to me of abandonment and whatnot, but I'm the one who continues to say I am one who deserves to be abandoned, And they're not the ones telling me that. I'm telling me that from the, experience, right? But it takes a sharper mind to look at it and just go, that's them. I know what they did. It hurt, but I'm the one who's continuing to pick at the wound and poke my own self in the head and reinforce this idea, So yeah, I guess the self-doubt, insecurity, maybe, and just I don't know, it just sometimes it feels good to hate yourself. Not that it is a good thing, but that sometimes it feels good because it feels correct, when you get to that point and you're yeah, this feels correct. This is what is deserved. Dude, oh my God. Sophomore year of high school, I read the book, The Kite Runner, and in it, the main character, he's constantly made mistakes throughout this whole book. And he feels like he caused the assault of his friend. He feels like he caused the death of his friend, eventually finds out that's his brother, and then he feels even guiltier. And then he's like, oh, and I also caused the pain of my now nephew. It's this whole thing where he just constantly like keeps seeing the the pain of other people and being like, this is fully my fault. And whether it is or is not, is that like he views it as that of just like, I am the one who is guilty of all this pain. I deserve punishment. And then finally he's walking around his hometown or something like that. It's been like, 16 years since I've read this book basically. But he's walking around and at one point gets beaten up and he starts laughing hysterically because he's being beaten up. And he thinks, finally, I'm getting the punishment I deserve. Like, I've deserved this for so long. I'm finally getting what is right for me. And when I read that as 15, 16-year-old, I genuinely thought this guy gets me. Like truly, I was like, this is a guy who understands me, which is an unhealthy way to view life and such, but that's how it was for a while. But like, if I am being punished, it actually feels good because that's how I feel I deserve to be treated, but I'm not into that like dominatrix stuff. Ugh, I hate pain. Please don't. No, thank you. I also don't like leather. It's too stiffening. Ugh, and sweaty. No, thank you. Ugh. I don't like being just like wet and hurt. Who do you feel like you're more like, your mom or your dad? 100% my mom. I don't know my dad, but also my mom and I are very similar in ways that I didn't realize until I got older. Here's the thing, growing up, I actually thought I might have been secretly adopted. Because I was like, clearly I'm super different from my mom in every way, shape, and form. It's a classic like teenage thing, like these can't be my parents. But I never thought I looked like my mom, and then eventually I got older and showed people photos of my mom, and they'd be like, you have your mom's face, which is crazy. And I noticed it too when I got mad one time and I like happened to look in a mirror and my angry face was exactly the same. Is that, dude, that tripped me out for a while, man. Oof, that was a weird one. Way more like my mom, way more like uh not only with the like spirals, but also the ability to get things done. Honestly, dude, if my mom wasn't kind of crazy, then she would be like a CEO. I swear, man. Dude, the amount of work that she can get done in like 2 hours when she's like in it is crazy, man. I remember, I mean, like every month we would be about to be evicted and foreclosed on from our house. And then my mom would make a bunch of phone calls, get a bunch of like stuff going basically with like other people and connections and stuff like that. And then she would hang up and just go, oh, we got another month. And it's like, man, if you could just do that, but just like regular, we would be crushing right now. Yeah, but my mom has a lot of mental illness and pain and whatnot. Mom, if you're watching, I am 100% right. And you cannot deny that. Okay. If you deny that, that's just further evidence. There's no way you can deny that. 100%. You do because I do. And I get it from you. I am mentally insane, but in like a super logical way. No, my mom, 100%. And that's where I'll get in those mindsets of like when things are fully hitting the fan, my brain goes crazy active and it just launches into overtime. That's where at one point, I got broken up with. I got dumped, right? And I had to host my own show that night. Ugh, brutal, brutal experience. To host a show the night you got dumped, crazy, man. I was in a insane mental space, but my brain was firing like crazy. So I was like full in it and delivering my jokes like the best I ever have. I was riffing. I was like, it was like, whoa, this is nailing it. That's crazy. And it's because my brain was just like locked in. Dude, that's the straight cocaine from my brain, man. It's just adrenaline and deep sadness. Do you feel like you're running from something or avoiding it? For a long time, I was avoiding thinking about parents and whatnot. Just trying to not think about it. Not in an aggressive, like shut it out of the mind way, but more of like, I can't think about that right now. I have so many other things in front of me that need my attention. I moved out of my home when I was 19, moved into a friend's parents' place, and I had no money, um, barely had a job, had just bought a car. That car broke down on me. Um, just transferred my bank account, no savings, no money saved at all in my house. If you had a job and then money coming into your bank account, the bank account was linked to my mom, so she would just withdraw that money into her account. So any money you made just went straight to her, but then she would also ask you to pay rent. It's crazy. So then you had to like keep like cash basically or secret money so that you could even pay rent because she was taking the rest of your money. Um, Again, mom, if you're listening, that is 100% true. And if you deny it, you are ridiculous. Yeah, I just like, I couldn't think about it right now because it was like, I have to go to college. I have to do class. I have to get a job. I have to do this. And it was really like survival mode and coming out of the survival mode because I had no money whatsoever. I think I had like $30. I mean, like, living, for free basically in my friend's, house. But uh still it's like I have nothing to like. I just spent all my money to buy this car and then it broke down on me like 2 months later. And then like I didn't have money for groceries when that when I bought that car, when I moved in, when so it was just like it was very much like I have to get this going. And that's kind of how I know that I turned out okay, that I live on my own. I have a job, I pay for things. It's all living is very normal now. This is the most stable my life has ever been. It's crazy. Yeah. It was a long time. It was just like, I have no time to think about this. And that's where I would have almost nightly nightmares about living at home, where it would just be me like at my childhood home and then hearing my mom off in the distance, and I would just run out of the house to try to escape, basically. Yeah, I would have nightly nightmares, basically, about living at home, and I would wake up and be like, I wish these would stop. And those probably went on for 8 years, 7, 8 years. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Eventually, I started working on that in EMDR therapy. And then now, if I have a dream about living at home, it's honestly just like me just being there. It's not like a, it's not like a negative. It's not like I need to escape. It's just like in my dreams, my mom has approached me and like started trying to argue with me. And I've literally said like, I'm not doing this right now. And was, that was like a turning point. It was in a way me like not thinking about it. And then my brain in my dreams being like, nah, brother, you're gonna think about this. And so I would wake up angry because I would have had this dream and then be like, I would go to school now and I would go to class, walk in to, you know, whatever English 1102 or something like that, and just have the weirdest energy because I woke up from a nightmare about this living situation. And now I have to go to college with people who did not have that type of experience, which is regular kids, you know? And then they're like, "Hey, how's it going, Jacob?" And I'm just like, "I'm doing fine." They feel, okay. You know, so always coming in with that energy. Now when we're chill. But man, everybody in college said that they could tell I was going through a lot. What's a secret about yourself? That's a very good question. There's a lot of things that I guess are secret about me. I mean, not really. I'm usually pretty talkative, but there's things that I don't share and don't even try to share with myself. I can say the thing that got cut out of the last episode with Weaver, which, by the way, Andrew Weaver, shout out. Very fun first guest. Thank you for being on. A secret I probably have that I shared with him is a few years ago, in like probably the biggest parts of my depression and biggest parts of my, I guess, like self-doubt. I thought for a second, I was like, if I'm not happy now, and then I heard like there's, gender dysphoria and all that. I was like, maybe I'm trans. And I was like, I don't think so, but I don't know. I knew myself so little. I was like, maybe that's true, you know? And I just was like, I'm just going to stick with being a guy for now and just see what happens. And then my depression cleared and I was like, oh no, I'm for sure. I'm chill. But I then found out that my absent father, transitioned to a woman. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's where that came from. That's where that was. It's just, that's just built into me. That can that thought can happen at any moment, man. But yeah, so I guess that's a secret. But yeah, for a second I thought that I might be trans, but I'm not. Also didn't help that I had really long hair at the time, but I would not look good trans at all. Okay, we'll do one more question and then we'll get out of here. That'll be good. Thank you for listening. If you have, if you did, it means the world to me. This is something that is, a bit out there, kind of out of my comfort zone. I'm not nervous to post this, but I am also like, I would get if people don't like this. I hope it was nice. And that's not fishing for compliments, please. If you weren't going to comment before and you heard this, don't comment now. You know what I mean? Don't make a comment just because of this part of the video, make a comment on your own. If you were going to leave it, leave it. If you weren't, don't feel obligated. Do you wish you were raised any differently? Dang, man, that is a great question. Thank you, Jacob. Wow, amazing. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Jacob. You doing anything later? Yeah, because that's like bargaining, right? That's being like, what if I was raised differently and stuff like that. So I don't know. For a long time, man, oh dude, I still do it now. For a long time, I wish that I had someone else's brain, you know? Because like I'm like, why is mine so susceptible to depression? Why is mine, you know, why is mine so conflicted and full of self-doubt? And so I wish that I had other people's brains and stuff like that. For a long time, especially the people I idolize, you know what I mean? Like, oh, why couldn't I be them? So, but then I heard that even the people I idolize, like Rory Scovel, posted kind of this journal entry, kind of like almost a poem in a way, in his little like email blurbs that he sends out. And, he talks about how he is like sitting around a fire and he wrote that, and everyone like me for just a moment wishes that they were someone else. And for me, I'm like, why do you wish you were someone else? Like, you're doing what I dream of doing, you know? But, that just shows that even the people that you think have like every single thing you would want still can wish that they were someone else, which is crazy. Can still be insecure. So do I wish I was raised differently? I don't know. I'm still conflicted on that one. That's kind of the precipice of this whole thing, you know, is like, I'm so obsessed with other people and their perspective because I think mine is wrong. And I think that other people are doing it better than I am. And that's the whole thing, is that I'm trying to enforce this idea of like, I know what's best for me. And I do. And I do believe that. But also it's like, I still, you know, it's like the group project, you know, you sit next to your classmate and the teacher asks like, what's the answer or whatever. And you think you know it, right? But then your classmate raises their hand and answers it. And you're like, that's what I would have gone with. But I'm glad that I'm glad that they answered it. Or even then, like, you know, somebody asks a question, then you turn and you're like, what do you think? Is like, I'm trying to train myself to be like, what do I think? Okay, go with that. Do I wish that I was raised differently? I'm going to say no. And instead of thinking about what somebody else would say, I'm just going to be resolute with that, because no, if I was raised differently, then I wouldn't be me. I also can't change it, unfortunately. Um, if I could, I would go back in time and, you know, show myself even more hentai. Do know that that was the tame version of the joke I had in my head. It's me. It's fine. It's fine. It's myself. Um, but I guess no, I don't wish that I was raised differently, because obsessing over that is never going to help. And thinking about that is never going to help. Sometimes there's a question you ask yourself and then you have to go, I cannot think about that, because if I do, it's going to be all that I think about for the rest of my day. So I just have to put an end to that. You know, I just have to stop it right there. And that was 5 minutes to answer one simple yes or no question. And that is also something I get from my childhood. um, Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you did, uh, I don't know if I got a single clip out of this to post on Instagram Reels to hype up this episode, but who knows? Um, Thank you again. Really appreciate it. This is a work in progress. This is a learning thing. But nonetheless, if you are here listening right now, you're the best. You're going to be okay. You're going to be great. Thank you.